from the Richmond Pulse. And you see we have a cast of thousands. We have all the Oscar nominees, the Richmond Post nominees with us tonight. We have our own Oscar nominees to talk about the Richmond Post. And let me read this brief summary. Richmond Post is a community news and media outlet committed to amplifying the voices of the city's underserved residents. Our reporting is led by young people with the intent of serving the entire community. Oftentimes missing are the voices of Richmond residents themselves, the people most impacted by the conditions that exist. Okay, a little bit more here. Let's see. We believe that these questions are not currently being often asked enough by the mainstream media and the news coverage, which is why we started the Richmond Post, a new community media outlet for Richmond, California that will strive to ask and answer these important questions. All right, there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Says what makes you different, but I'll let you talk about that. So let's go straight to Mr. GQ Smooth up there in the my right hand corner with the tie, good looking, and with the wonderful last name of Mr. Malcolm. I knew this was going to happen. I predicted today that this was going to happen. When he came out, I looked at him and said, one day,
ladies,
he will be a media mogul. And he has lived, and I lifted him up to the stars. All right, just like in Roots. Okay, go ahead, Soul. Talk about your baby.
Was that Roots? Well, yeah, I don't know what that was. But hey, can we just bring everyone in just for a second?
Absolutely, all in. Introduce them all.
Well, let's see who's here because I can't see everybody.
Oh, you can't? I can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you do it.
All right. I see, and raise your hand, and I must probably say your name wrong. So just say, all right. Dennis Perez, bravo. Dennis.
Hey.
All right, Dennis is here. Joel Umanzor, is that right?
Umanzor Jr. Yes.
Junior, I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean to offend your dad. Okay. Ronvel Sharper.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's him. All right. Maria Bernal. Is Maria here? Oh, Maria.
Bernal.
Hey, yeah, I got the long here. All right. Mathew Miranda. Mathew is not here. All right. Okay. Keisa Reynolds.
Keisa,
yes, hi.
Keisa.
All right.
Why
Juan
people
Mendoza.
always put the H in your name, Keisa? Always, huh? Keisa.
Every time.
Oh, it's Keisa.
Yes.
Oh! I can't pronounce the name. All right. Juan Mendoza. I saw Juan. Danielle. Parenteau-Decker.
Hello.
Yes.
Parental.
Right. And Elizabeth. Is Elizabeth here? Elizabeth Gonzalez. There she is. All right.
What's up,
There's
Liz?
There's your folks. All right.
All right, where you want me to start, Doc?
And look, you gotta, I read a little bit about it, but I tell everybody, I know a little, but tell everybody how Richmond Post got started, your journey. Start right there. Pretend the person who was watching don't know anything.
I'm gonna keep it brief because we need to hear from the team. They're the ones that make it happen. I just kind of steer the ship. But like you said, we are a community news media outlet focused in Richmond, California, West Contra Costa County. Started in 2011 as actually something about, Doc, part of an initiative called the Building Healthy Communities Initiative, which is funded by the California Endowment. It's a 10-year initiative to improve health outcomes in a number of cities across California. Richmond is one of those cities. And, let me just back up. You always talk about this when you came to the Bay Area in the 70s. And one of the first things that people told you was, well, I'll let you say it. Doc, what was it?
I'm a young man from Los Angeles coming up here to go to the University of San Francisco. I'm actually 17 years old. I'm not even 18 years old. I'm at USF. I don't know this place. I don't know anything. So, I meet my friends, a couple of girls, blah, blah, blah. And they told me right away, the two places you can't go by yourself. I said Pittsburgh and Richmond. I'll never forget that.
And that was in the 70s, right?
My roommate was from Pittsburgh. He said, you can't go out and rich you. And this girl said, man, you can't come over to visit me. She lived in Parchester, right? You can't go over there. So that was that was my introduction to Richmond, California when I came up here. So that's the story I tell. Yes.
Well, and that was in the 70s, correct?
That was in the late 60s, early 70s. Yes, sir.
If you Google Richmond, California right now, the first thing that comes up is Richmond, California dangerous? and under that, is Richmond ghetto? I mean, so that stigma is still there. And that's part of the reason why we're here. Why the Richmond Post is here, because there's so much, how should I say, those stigmas and those reputations are hard to shake off. They're often not true. But once, local TV news presents a city a certain way, then that's just how people think of it. And coming here, and when we started in 2010, 2011, there was so much great community work happening in Richmond, because I'm not from here. Some of my team is, and they're born and raised, so they can give you a better feel for Richmond than I can. But just when I got here, I was like, oh man, this city is nothing like what people are talking about, or there's so much more. Let me say it that way.
That's a good way to put it.
But a lot that more wasn't getting out there. So that was one of the reasons that we started. Another one was, we were the California Endowment was looking at places in California that, and let me say this: California Endowment partnered with Pacific News Service, New America Media. That was where I worked at the time, and part of the goal was to establish local news outlets, community news outlets in places that didn't have them, that had a lack of homegrown news. Richmond was one of those. The Contra Costa Times, it's covered Richmond for a long time, but had scaled back dramatically. Richmond's long-running daily newspaper, The Independent, had gone out of business, years before, and Richmond just wasn't getting the news the coverage that it deserved. So that was part of the reason. We also wanted to work with young people. That was part of it. Give people opportunity to develop skills in journalism and in storytelling, and kind of bring their voices into the mainstream. Bring voices and communities of color into the mainstream dialogue. There were just holes in the mainstream media sometimes. So we just wanted to try to fill in those holes, so to speak. And it was an idea. We didn't know if people would go for it. Are people going to read news written by young folks? Are young folks even going to want to do journalism? That's not really the coolest thing in the world. But here we are 10 years later, and it's still rolling.
That's a great introduction, great summary. And indeed, I was reading this, and you just said that is what makes the Richmond Post different from other news organizations, and that it is youth-led with a focus on any issue.
It's youth-led. Let me say, and also it's like what I call inside-out journalism. Folks aren't parachuting into Richmond that don't live here and already have, and aren't vested in the community. These, for the most part, we've given opportunity to people who live here, go to school here, grew up here, their families are here, they're involved in the community, they actually care about this city. And I always say, while they might not, some of our staff, let me say, were into writing and journalism before they got to me. A lot of them haven't been. And most of them are young. So they might not be as seasoned as, journalists at the LA Times or the Chronicle or whatever. But they make up for that in their understanding and in their love for the city. And if you care about a place, if you care about something, and that's half the battle right there. So sometimes we'll see stories written by bigger news organizations, and we'll just be like, you got it all wrong, because they jumped in, they parachuted into town for a couple of days. So we'd like to think we get it right. We don't get it right all the time, but our perspective, I think, helps. We're from here, we have connections here, and we care.
Yeah, and having seen many issues of the Richmond Post, Actually, I titled this segment, "The Richmond Post Community News at its Finest." And I'm not familiar with all the other newspapers in Richmond. I'm familiar with a couple of them. I haven't seen one that's even close, as far as I'm concerned, that gets to the community. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna tell you what I really like is going into little shops in Richmond, and there's a Richmond Post. That's cool. Going in places, there's the Post. It's right there, hot off the press, and you have a unique feature that puts you head and shoulders above any newspaper. I don't have another paper, maybe in the country, or maybe there is somewhere, and that is a bilingual newspaper. And I don't know nobody. I grew up in Los Angeles. I have the Sentinel, a lot of community paper, but none of it is bilingual. Before I go to them, so let me ask you, how did you begin to assemble? I know people have come. How did you find your staff? Did you, put out an ad? Did you hang up a shingle? Did you promise some huge bonuses? I know that wasn't true. How did you find them? Even your first folks, how did you find them?
2011, I started. Well, okay, it's a little personal history. I have been working in media for a while, and in radio, and I was working for New American Media as a multimedia journalist. And when the opportunity came up, my good friend who's passed away now, Kevin Weston, he encouraged me. He's like, "Come on, Malk, I think it's time. There's an opportunity here. You can move into a leadership role." And I was like, "No, I'm good. I like what I'm doing. I'm a real good radio producer, and I'm fine staying right here." And he just kept on me, "No, I think you should give this a try. Think about it. There's nothing happening out there. You could have this, and you could run it on your own." And I just remember saying, "No, I'm good. And he was like, "Look, I want to do one in Oakland. You can do one in Richmond, and we'll team up together." And I was like, "Well, okay, working with you, I like that idea." But I just didn't see myself in any kind of leadership or management role. I had never done that. I was used to coming into the editorial meeting, being told what to do, hoping I did it good enough, and and getting my paycheck and going home. I had never really, I had coached, I worked with some young people, but I had never really been the leader. So I just didn't see myself that way. And I'm saying this because Kevin believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And he used to get mad at me. And I mean mad, like he was going to fight me sometimes if I didn't do it. And I just couldn't see it. And he stayed on for months and months and months. And then finally one day I said, I'll give it a try. The birth of my daughter probably was the biggest reason why I decided to give it a try, because, more bills were piling on real fast.
Now you need some money, right?
Kids have a way. Hey, daddy time have you working, okay?
Gotta make some money.
Gotta pay for those diapers.
That's right. And when they said, when my boss at the time said, if you do this, you can get a pay raise, I was like, well, okay, I'll try that. But I was really reluctant. And I just say that I didn't see myself doing it. I didn't have any experience. I took a chance in doing the work and in myself. We started off, I think the first few months I did a news audit of every story that had been told about Richmond in the last 6 months from every organization in the Bay Area, news, radio, TV. I tried to find everything. And that took a long time. And then I looked at what they weren't doing. And I said, okay, that's what we want to do.
Good idea.
We're going to be small. We don't need to replicate what other people are doing. Let's fill in the holes that are there. And I was living in Castro Valley at the time. So I would get up and drive to San Francisco, my office, do my editorial meeting, check in there, then drive to Richmond. And it was a little bit going to, City Hall, meetings, door to door, talking to people, because I wasn't from Richmond. Getting people to drive me around, take me to this neighborhood, take me to this place, and just kind of learning the land. And it was a good 5-6 months of just doing that and starting to report. And what I found was a city that I loved. And I jokingly say Richmond reminds me of 1998 Oakland. I don't know if that makes any sense to people, but it just, Oakland is so cool and it has so much. We're not that cool, I mean, we're cool in a different way. And I'm sure people who from Richmond can tell you what I mean. We still need a couple new grocery stores out here. Still need stuff. And so it's not like Oakland where we have everything and we just up here like, yeah, we so fresh. But that is the kind of a quality that I like about it. It's just down to earth, working class folks working hard, and it was really community oriented. A lot of people were doing great work at that time. Office of Neighborhood Safety had come on. Doc, you remember the ceasefire night walks were happening. We had a really supportive mayor, Gail McLaughlin, who was supportive of. I went to her and said, I want to start this community newspaper. She said, I love it. You can do your meetings in City Hall. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, come on. It sounds great. So there was a lot of support. Safe Return Project. There was just so many people doing things that I thought, man, if I just documented what all these people are doing, this will be great. And that's kind of how we gained traction. And then when we started printing the bilingual newspaper, English and Spanish, and that was when we hit. People were like, oh wow. Because I think there's a perception from the old school folks that Richmond, they think of Richmond in the 80s and 90s, and people think it's a black city, all black.
Right.
And there's still about 25% black folks here, but it's probably 40 to 45% Latino now. I don't have exact numbers, but I'm guessing. And there's a lot of Spanish speakers here, and there was no Spanish language newspaper. So we've always kind of been besides being a community newspaper, kind of like had some black and brown community synergy.
Right. I think that's brilliant.
And in the Bay Area, people like that. And in Richmond, people gravitated towards that.
Boy. Okay, let's meet the folks that, I guess you're the conductor, but these are the people who make the train run.
Oh, yeah. And these are a few of the people. Richmond Post there's been so many people involved over the years. Some people have contributed one story that was super impactful. Some people have stayed around off and on, like Keisa has been rolling with me for years now, through moves out of state and back. And I never like getting rid of people. To me, if someone has done good work, to me, hey, I'm gonna find a way to keep you around. But there's so many people that have contributed, and that's what makes it a real community effort. I mean, there's hundreds of people that have made this happen. So we're going to meet some of them, but by no means is that the totality.
So before I get into each of your stories and when you came to be associated with the paper, I'm going to say your name and just tell me what you do, what your role is on the paper. So Joelle, just say how long you've been there and what do you do?
I've been with the Richmond Post since June 2019.
Yeah.
And I would say my role with the paper, I float around. I like to be diverse in the things that I cover and the just the different stories I can tell. And so I kind of float around and I'll cover anything from a new restaurant opening to an education issue or something like that that's going on in Richmond. So I kind of float around and help Malcolm with whatever he needs me to do.
Thank you. Juan.
Okay, let me stay with that brother real quick. Excellent journalist right there, Doc. And are you still a current SF State student?
Yes, I'm going
almost done, huh?
Yeah, graduating in a few weeks, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Studying journalism there.
Yeah.
And about to do great things.
I'm gonna let them get into their whole life story, but let me go around and let everybody meet everybody.
Thank you.
Juan, how long have you been with the paper and what do you do?
Hello.
Hey!
I've only been with Richmond Post for a couple months now, but I've been writing sort of memoirs about my own life and just random topics about the COVID pandemic and students going back into school. So yeah.
Thank you, Juan. Liz, I will not say Elizabeth. Liz.
Thank you.
I've been with the Richmond Pulse since we went bilingual, and I don't have a good grasp on time, so I don't know when that was.
I can help you.
And I'm the translator.
Liz is our Spanish translator. First of all, let me back up. Liz didn't want to come on tonight. She was like, "What? I don't. You gonna have me on this?" I'm like, "Yes, Liz," because Liz has been in the background of Richmond Pulse from the beginning, and she never asked for any credit. She lets me take all the credit, okay? But I couldn't have done anything without her, and we definitely wouldn't be bilingual without her, because I don't speak Spanish, okay? But so many nights trying to get the newspaper out, and I'm just ready to say, you know what? Forget this newspaper. I'm good. I don't care no more. That woman right there is the reason that it came out. So she's the mom, the spirit, the heartbeat of the Richmond Pulse, Liz Gonzalez.
So Liz, I can say he cannot speak Spanish. In fact, we can do standard English and Ebonics, but that doesn't really work. So we need. I'm glad you were there for the Spanish translation. Danielle, how long have you been there, and what is your role?
See, I started freelance editing for the Pulse in 2017, I think it was, and I've been the managing editor since last June.
Thank you. Keisa, see, put the H in. Keisa.
I've been writing for the Pulse since June 2015. It's been that long, right? Almost 6 years? Yeah. And I write a little bit of everything, reporting, op-eds about every single thing. So whatever I'm interested in, whatever Malcolm tells me to do.
Maria?
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Fernanda Bernal. I am the community. I'm the community health reporter at the Richmond Pulse. I've been with them since winter of 2019.
Okay. Dennis?
Yeah, I'm the sports reporter for the Richmond Post. I've been with the Post since June 2016, summer, when I covered, I think, a garden contest, and I did a multimedia package for that. So and I've been there since. So
that's the man right there, Doc.
Ronvel.
Hi, my name is Ronvel, and I've been with the Pulse since spring of 2015, when I was back in high school. I don't really specialize in anything, but I write about pretty much anything and everything. And the Pulse has, well, you could say that it's been my first real job, and I've kept it all these years.
Ronvel was actually on the show when we came to KMEL years ago. We were in the studio. How old were you then, Ronvel, when I first met you?
When we first met, I was about 15 or 16. Mm-hmm. I remember being a sophomore in high school.
Richmond High School,
mm-hmm.
Oilers. In fact, you know who introduced Ronvel to me, Doc, was Dre. He was one of Dre's kids. And he brought me into the class and he said, yeah, I want you to work with Ronvel. And that's how we made the connection.
So here's what I want to do. And I won't necessarily call on any names. I want to know why do you do what you do? And secondly, why the Richmond Post? I want to, dig into your story. You heard Malcolm talk about his story and how he got there, but I want to know, was it something you always started doing? You always wanted to be in news. So just jump in, and I'll call on you if I have to, but it's a free for all, so, if we were in the KMEL studio, we would just call you to the mic and say, somebody come to the mic, come on, we can't have any dead air time. Well, this is a live television show. I mean, it's not the Oscars, but it's live. So just jump in and tell us, why are you doing this? What led you here? So go, somebody, quick, 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, Mr. I got to call on people anyway. All right, Ronvel.
Go ahead, Ronvel.
All right, so when I first started writing for the Richmond Post, I actually didn't really have any career aspirations at the time. I was sort of just, I guess you could say I was sort of a academic drifter at the time. And I didn't really, I just kind of just lived in the moment. I just basically did whatever was cool at the time. But when I was recruited into the Richmond Pulse, I actually had something to do. I I figured out sort of that I had this whole ability to write things. I loved writing, and by being employed with the Richmond Pulse, I was pretty much able to use my own writing as a way to like influence, to basically help out the community, help people get to know what's going on in the community, what's going on around them, and I actually got people to understand that the whole city of Richmond isn't just the stuff you normally see on the news, which with all this bloodshed and whatnot. And now that I've grown up and thought about it more often, I now realize that the press it really can help when it comes to helping people out, when it comes to like spreading positivity and whatnot. Just getting the word out really helps out a lot. And I really feel that the Pulse itself has helped me attain some qualities that I otherwise would not have developed. And I really appreciate having these experiences.
Great. Well, that's wonderful. That's the kind of stuff I want to hear, y'all. That is exactly what I want to hear. Joel.
I would say the reason I never really at first would think that I would have gone into journalism. I stopped going to school for a while. I was working, random warehouse jobs, UPS, any like I was kind of drifting from job to job and whatnot. And I got inspired to go back to school and, newspapers and journalism. My grandmother used to get the Oakland Tribune all the time when I was a kid. So I used to, that was kind of my form of entertainment. I kept up with the news. It was something that I always liked to be informed, but I never thought I would be contributing in some kind of fashion like that. But when I started writing for the Pulse was when after I had, gotten my journalism associates from Contra Costa College, Malcolm. I saw an ad online, but I already had made that connection with Dennis, who was working at the Pulse already. And I applied, for the job description. And Malcolm reached out, and it was through just a conversation with him that I really felt like I could continue my journalistic endeavors. Like I got to really, practice what I had been studying in school. I got an ability to be out there and make connections with people in the community that could highlight, places that had not been highlighted before, shine spotlight on places that, I was familiar with. I knew, my neighborhood. I knew the things that were going on. Who better to tell our story than us, somebody, who's lived and seen the things in our community that are more complex than just what happens in the mainstream news narrative. That's important for us to kind of put our story out there. And I think that Malcolm's, vision kind of has brought together all of us in this, this team format where we're able to kind of contribute, a unique perspective on what's going on in Richmond and what's happening with our people, and an ability to give that a platform, because other people might not have a full understanding of our neighborhood, where we come from, but we're there to give that, to be that buffer and be that that conduit where that knowledge is being passed.
Keisa?
Okay, let's start with the short story real quick. A couple of years ago, I was visiting from Chicago. I moved from Richmond to Chicago in 2011 for college. And I was still living in Chicago, came back, went to Baby Market, went to Crescent Park, and that's where we always go. And I ran into someone, one of my neighbors for 20 years. And she was just like, "Oh, what are you doing in town?" I said, "Oh, I'm visiting." She said, "Oh, good. I'm glad you're still out of here. Nobody should be in Richmond anymore. And there's nothing over here anyway." And I was just taken back. This was just my own neighbor, still lives near my parents, my sisters, everybody. And she didn't even like Richmond and had no real anything positive to say about the place where she lived. And so that is a major reason why I like writing for the Pulse, and was one of the reasons why I started. I moved back home temporarily after college, didn't have a job, was bored and wanted to write. I moved to be a writer. I went to college to be a writer, dropped out of the journalism major after my first semester because it was terrible. And it just made me not want to be a writer anymore. And so when I came back, and I was just like, what's a quick way for me to get money? I saw that the Post was hiring and looking for staff writers. And so I was just like, it was a way to be like, hey, I just want some money. But then I actually met everybody and like met other like young journalists, saw how excited they were. And then I just got so much excitement, like reconnecting with the city after being gone for so long. And so, yeah, that's the start of how and why I love being here and writing for and about my people.
Thank you. Maria.
Hey, so foremost, I'm an activist. I've been fighting for the equity of Black and brown bodies since forever. And so when I got my undergrad at SJSU, I was working at laboratories and I thought that I wanted to be a researcher. And so I was a research assistant, and quickly I found out that it takes many years to come out with these articles, to publish them. I wanted to go into it for to study Black and brown bodies, especially undocumented people. And it was so limiting, these spaces. And so during that time where I was getting really frustrated with the lack of funding that existed in these laboratories, Malcolm reached out to me and asked me to write a story on DACA, because I am a very proud DACA undocumented recipient. And I wrote that story, and from then on I was like, I could write more. I could write all of the things that I've been wanting to write about, but were limited to in the spaces that I was in. And so yeah, and I'm still here. So that's my story.
Dennis.
Man.
Hey, good evening again. Yeah, I studied journalism at Contra Costa Community College. I fell in love with photography. Actually, I fell in love with photography before I entered Contra Costa College, and so that led me into journalism. And I thought I was a good writer. Everyone told me I was a good writer growing up. But when I got into college, into the journalism program there, I realized that I'm not that good of a writer, and so it led me to be better, and that translated into photography as well. Wanting to improve, and so I found about the Richmond Pulse, and so that's another thing that was gonna help me improve. So, and I was gonna get paid for it, and so it was a win-win situation. And one of the things that kept me here is Malcolm. I see myself in Malcolm. I see a strong person that wants to make something happen, and so he made something happen. And I definitely see this as a organization that could continue on and create a legacy if it stays consistent, and I want to play a part in that. And so I definitely see myself helping out in any way that I can, and so and then continuing to help the Richmond Pulse prosper, even if it's helping other people, helping the people that come into I think the team aspect of it is also another thing. Is just being with all these young journalists and people that are interested in the same thing in a real world situation, it has motivated me, and so I want to keep motivated. And yeah, so
thank you. Danielle.
Yes, well, a little bit of personal background. I grew up in Southern California, so I'm an outsider too, but I grew up really poor, raised by a single mom on welfare. And so much of the media, I saw nothing about people like me and my family. Everything that was written about poor people. Well, first off, it almost never was written or talked about, but when it was insulting or just didn't reflect the reality that I knew. So I knew there had to be so many people out there whose lives were quite different from mine, but who were feeling the same kind of way. So that's why I got into journalism. That plus the fact that I love to write, and it was a good way to be able to combine the two. And then my first real exposure to Richmond was in my first semester at the UC Berkeley Journalism School, where I covered city politics for Richmond Confidential. That's, of course, how I met Malcolm as well. And the main things I remember being exposed to about Richmond in the first place were Chevron and its massive impact on the economy and the environment and gun violence. But it became so apparent to me so quickly that there was so much more to the city, you know, just like Malcolm was saying earlier, just so much more. And I was just so struck by the level of passion and engagement and activism from the community, especially around environmental justice, which is very important to me. So I knew that this was a community that I wanted to stay engaged with in some way, even though it's not my city. I felt an affinity for it and the things that I was seeing. But then after I finished journalism school, I went back to Southern California because I got a job at the LA Times. But the whole time I just kept thinking, I want to get back to the Bay Area.
Oh, wow.
But of course, but I knew it was also going to take the right opportunity to pull me away from the LA Times. But I just, I kept in contact with Malcolm, kept freelancing for the Pulse as much as I could. And once he started talking about wanting to hire me, and then especially once he actually got the funding to pay me, I knew that that was the right opportunity. And so I came back.
Keeping it real.
Yes.
Yeah, money talks. Money talks. Okay, and the unsung hero, but the sung hero, out of the shadows, Liz.
Out of the shadows, yes.
Out of the shadows.
Hey, Liz.
When I came on, I was also working with New America Media, and also have to say and give my gratitude to folks like Kevin Weston and Sandy Close, because there's generations of media makers that would not have come down this path without them.
Josue Rojas.
Josue Rojas.
Yes.
Raj Jaidev. I'm down here in East San Jose. And so, I connect a lot with Richmond because we have a very similar environment. And I'm also part of another organization that sort of came out of New America Media, Silicon Valley Debug. We used to be, when we were the youth group down in the South Bay. So this is all work that I'm very passionate about the power and transformative power of writing and being able to tell your own stories. So I really love all that. It's kept me connected. It's kept me up at night. I think because we really value youth, and just even though I'm only sometimes now reading the stories, like I can see the transformation of the folks who contribute, and I love it. Like, it's so rewarding.
So,
Doc, let me just say about Liz again. Sorry, I can't. I'm gonna talk about her all night. Liz is a soldier. When people say that as an expression, that's a soldier. No, look up soldier, and Liz's face should be in the dictionary. She's so committed, and people were talking about the money. Liz was doing it when I didn't have no money.
That's a soldier.
And I'm not lying. Thank you. Okay.
So I've seen the paper, a whole bunch of them. They're beautiful. They're wonderful. How do you, so my vision is, because I watch too many newspaper movies, old movies especially, with smoke-filled rooms and people get in there and everybody's running around. So how do you come up with what you're going to do? I mean, what's the process? Does somebody get an idea, or you're all together? Just talk about that, because there must be, I would assume, and because I know a creative and excitement about coming up with this finished product. That just jump in and talk about this. 2 of you get together, 3 of you get together.
Let me start, Doc.
Or what?
Doc, let me first say there's no smoke in the office. It's not Network in 1970s or whatever movie you're thinking of.
It ain't them. Look, on them 40s movies, that's all they had was smoke. I'm surprised any of them lived, but a lot of them didn't. But
and let me say, the way I run is influenced by my time. 2 organizations, one is New America Media, which was already in the journalism world, it was weird. It was different. I mean, I remember, and Liz can attest to that. We would go in the office one day. First, there was no dress code or anything like that. It was multi-generational. So there was 16-year-olds right next to 60-year-olds. That is already different. One day, a politician might be in there, and we're all listening to him. The next day, it might be a brother who just got out of lockup, and we're sitting and listening to him. So there was no status. Nobody was more important than anybody else. And,
Got it.
And everybody had value, and everyone had something for us to learn from. And our boss Sandy Close was great at that, and she just created an environment like that, and everyone was worth listening to. I've gone in other newsrooms and I've seen, they're not all like that. Sometimes I've gone into newsrooms and I'm like, I'm the darkest person in here. So I got to see something different at an early age, and I thought that was the norm, and then I found out it wasn't. So I kind of try to create that. I use that model. No low stress, and they'll tell you the only time I get stressed is when the work ain't getting done. My only rule is get stuff done. But that comes out of the environment at New American Media, and then being around Omega and Street Soldiers. Obviously wasn't didn't teach journalism, but the community aspect, and the main rule of Omega or of Street Soldiers, the more you know, the more you owe. And that's just such a beautiful way to live, passing stuff on. So I kind of put those two philosophies that I had, and I try to, that's the vision I have of Richmond Pulse. Sure, we have ed meetings where we come up with ideas, and Danielle runs those and they can talk about it, but that's kind of the background of, I try to be a cool boss like that. We'll
find out if that's true.
We ain't gonna answer that question, but
we can answer that question. Actually, Malcolm is an amazing boss and mentor and friend. He is a guiding light. Well, for me, entering journalism, not knowing anything about writing, he is so patient, so kind, so passionate about what he does, and we're all very lucky to have him as our editor, as well as Danielle in our team. I can't really, speak on what other newsrooms look like, because this is the only one I've had experience with, and or the 90s, Malcolm, I don't know what you're talking about. But in this newsroom, I can talk about this one. We work so well together. Joel, Dennis, Juan just came in, so I'm very excited to work with him in the future. But yeah, man, Joel and Dennis, they're like bros, and I've worked with Joel on some pieces. And if I want Dennis is an amazing photographer, and if people haven't seen his work, you guys definitely should. I definitely call Dennis up if I need him to take some pictures, because he has a great eye. He's very talented. And I always have great communication with Danielle. She is able to gear me into the stories and give me great advice. I don't know if anybody else on the team would like to add on to those things that I just mentioned.
I would.
I'm looking for that. I want to hear that. That's what I want to hear, because that's what produces the newspaper. Go ahead, Joel.
I mean, I feel like a lot of journalism as well is just keeping your eyes and ears open, your head on a swivel. You know what I mean? Making sure that you are, aware of what's going on in your community, because it can be lonely at times. You're not necessarily, in meetings all the time to be able to bounce ideas off of each other. So, especially during COVID, now we haven't been able to necessarily meet in person how we used to. But, it's still about also bouncing ideas off of each other. I feel like I do that a lot often with Malcolm, with Dennis, with Danielle, just, kind of having an idea of what I want to write about that I feel is interesting or hasn't been talked about yet. And then kind of they help me sharpen that idea a lot more and refine that idea to the point where we can get it on paper.
Anybody else? Because you're a team. Yeah. I want to know how the team works. Go ahead.
Yeah. So talking about the team, I worked in the summer, I think 2 years ago, in a newspaper in San Leandro. and it was really different from over here in Richmond, mostly because who was here, who was working in that small newspaper, San Leandro. It was all white people. It was all older white people, and there was only two reporters, older gentlemen, and myself, and we didn't have communication about each other's stories. We didn't bounce back ideas. We had no, nothing like that. The main focus was getting stories so ads could be run. They actually had more ad placers than they had reporters, so
Wow.
like they had, yeah, so like it was like a team of four, getting ads, placing ads and stuff, and there was two reporters. So like the balance there was not, towards the actually efficient storytelling and journalism. It was, it was kind of like, just going through the motions. At the Pulse, it's not going through the motions. It's creating, this content that is meaningful for the community, as we've, stated over and over, And so bouncing back ideas is, one of the most important things, because, my ideas can be refined through other people's perspectives, and so that is a whole idea I think that Malcolm has had, with us, gathering, all different perspectives, different young in the age group. We have older people in the Pulse as well, and we have different, people from different backgrounds, and so teamwork definitely, like I said, it refines each other's stories just by us having different backgrounds and coming together and talking about our stories, then going out doing the work. And about, even though like Joe said, we do it separately sometimes, we definitely are together, every part of the way.
It's funny, interesting you said that, because I have a saying, and everybody I work with is younger than me. Always has been. In fact, the young people I work with are now, I'm not even gonna say their ages, and I'll tell them, "Hey, you old," and they say, "Yeah, but I'm old." I said, they look at me. I said, "But I was always old." So that's not a problem. But I have a saying that brings us all together, and the saying is, I don't believe in the generation gap. I believe in the truth gap. And it has always worked that we generally coalesce around certain truths, which, like 2 + 2 is 4, whether you're 14 or, 44 or 84, right? And I really, I know that has always been the core of what we do is, because we're trying to keep people alive and free, right? Save their lives. So we got to come up with certain things that will work to do that. And we got to get buy-in, So your quest for truth, I'm sure has brought all of you together and to get these stories out. And look, the place is only as good as the team. I don't care if you're the San Francisco Giants, the San Francisco 49ers, the Golden State Warriors, the team has to make things work. And all of you are special. And so just hearing about how the team works and the excitement for you is really just, the people watching, they must like, man, this is a special place. Your description of the San Leandro, what'd you say? They have more ads than reporters.
Yeah, they have more ad places than reporters, and that's the sad truth of journalism today is that we're not looking to fund what is actually important in the newspaper. We're doing something different.
And Doc, I should have said at the beginning, Richmond Post, we're a nonprofit news organization, and
Right.
Yes, most traditional newspapers, that's how they make their money, on advertising. So that, they have to. We have a different model, which it's funny, when I first started and I was doing nonprofit media, I was going around telling people what I was doing. Everyone was like, "Oh, good luck with that." Oh, that nonprofit thing. And then about 6 years in, people were calling me. It was like, "Hey, how do you do that? How did you raise this money? Could you think you could show me how?" And I'm like, me? So, somehow I was ahead of the curve, I guess, but it frees us up. I'd like to think, we need money too, but because we fundraise up front and we're not reliant on the ads, I think it allows us to just do a different kind of product.
Yeah, absolutely.
You put a different kind of care into it. I'd like to think so.
I like the word care, and because it's not about the money, it is about the truth, and it is about getting information out to people. What's been your favorite I'm interested. Your favorite story, your favorite dish, your favorite time. I'm just curious. One that really got you going, and you like, yeah, we got this out there. And you run around and say, read this, read this, read this, or a picture, or anything in particular for any of you?
I'd love to hear from Juan because he's new and he's so excited, and we're so excited to have him. So maybe you could talk about that, Juan.
Hello again. Yeah, I am very new to this whole group. I only met Maria, Danielle, Dennis, and Joel in person like a couple weeks ago. But I can just say that I'm very blessed to be around this group of people because they're like my whole life I've been searching for like role models, and I see these people, I met them, and I'm like, wow, these are the people that I'm gonna be working with now. And like just my passion of writing has like shifted into like a whole nother level now because I have the support and I have a group that I can that I have around me. But aside from that, a story that I was very happy to see was, well, I don't want to hype myself up or anything, but it was actually.
No, you need to do
Why
that.
not?
You need to do that.
It was the first time Malcolm handed me. It's actually right here. It's on my wall, but it's my story about just going through COVID and living life, going through the motions of it. This is a new experience for everyone, I'm sure. But when he handed me the physical copy, I felt like it was just like a moment of like existential, like something. And I was like, wow, this is so amazing. And I started jumping. I was like, I wanted to hug him and like not let him go. I was so excited. But yeah, I ran home. I gave the paper to my mom, and just like, I don't know. It's just a great feeling being able to like have stories that like you've experienced, and being able to put them in writing and show them to other people, and other people resonate with it. And it's a different kind of feeling. So that's what I was most excited about. It was seeing that experiences that I've gone through they have a voice now, and they resonate with other people. So I was very excited about seeing that and being able to give it to people I cared about. So yeah.
And Juan, I would add congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Frame that bad boy, okay?
Yeah.
I would say that you have more than role models. I would say that I don't use this word. If you guys tell me you say it's not. You have a family. This is your Richmond Post family, and I don't mean they're perfect because ain't no family I know perfect, but still, they all care about each other. They all love each other, and they're all pulling for each other. And I'm sure there are many, many more stories like that, many more moments to come. I want to ask Danielle, what is there one for you that a story, a moment, a this, a that, the head rush to this, yeah, for you?
Maybe me chasing her down, trying to get her to take this job.
That's definitely up there. Every time you would tell me, like, managing editor, and when it actually came true, once I've started the job, I was glad to hear from Juan just now, because honestly, his first story is easily one of my favorite moments, since I've started in this role, because just to see the level of honesty and openness and just raw truth, and the level of compassion and empathy that I knew his story would be able to generate in people. And especially, I know at that age, at any age, but especially someone so young, it can be hard to really open up, especially when young men are told to, be tough and keep it all inside. And that he was willing to just open up so much and write so beautifully and eloquently and poignantly. I knew there was something special there. So there have been a lot of wonderful moments, but Juan, you definitely gave me one of the best. I'm sorry if I'm embarrassing you right now.
It's okay. Thank you so much.
Wow. Ronvel, one for you? Anything, several?
Hard to say, because I actually feel as if every piece is important, mainly because if you work in this business for like a super long time, you start to appreciate like the change you have when you the more you work. So for me, I guess I could say that almost all of my pieces mean almost just as much as they did when I first wrote them. Mainly because if you, in retrospect, you can definitely see like the change in the person who wrote them. Like, for example, on my very first piece, you could just kind of tell that I was an amateur, but if you compare it to like one from like recently, you can definitely note my improvement if you have the eye for it. But overall, I really appreciate like all the pieces I've worked at. Well, all the pieces I've written, because it's an opportunity for me to write what's on my mind, for no matter what, whether it's an event that I attended, or even my own personal like experience with like changing up my own diet, for example. And yes, I've actually wrote about that. But it's just I don't know how to explain. It's one of the best privileges to be able to write to get paid to do what you love.
Right.
And not only that, but I get better with each story I write. And because of that, it's just an opportunity that I'll always keep dear to my heart, like for the rest of my life, because again, not many people get to say that they get to do what they love and like basically make it a career. So I can't really say that I have a single most favorite story, because in my opinion, it's
all good.
Yeah.
Well said. Dennis, you put the pictures to everything, right? You're the one that takes the story and then makes it visual. Is there any photo or story with
a Ricky Henderson? He steals bases, he hits home runs, he bunts, he catches, he throws.
I think what Ronvel was just talking about, man, I feel that to the heart. But I would say like my favorite one is the one I'm doing right now. You know, because you just get to do it all over again. Whatever you did before.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't ask this question in this manner. In my video that I'm doing right now, like I'm doing more videos. It's like knowing, like in the other videos, it's like I'll be asking a question and then like I can hear the other person, like the person, like I can hear myself, still in the video, or like, just those habits that I do while I'm talking are not video, qualified habits, or, things like that. So like you just learn, what you're doing over again, and like, you get to do it again. So that's why, my favorite one is the one that I'm doing right now, just in that sense. But I like, recently I like the story I did with just, with the Oakland one that you showed the video right now.
Yeah.
Just because I hadn't been to a protest in a while, especially when, something that happens, from time to time, when anarchy rises, and, people, just rampage throughout the city, riots happen. And so that's something that's being felt throughout the whole country. It's not something that's, unique to Oakland or to our state. So, being out there, it was, I got a sense of how people are feeling, especially, people are feeling like this in places that really matter right now, like Minneapolis, like you guys were talking about in the beginning. So, yeah, that was one of my favorites most recently, just to be able to be out there and document, how people are feeling.
Maria?
Juan, I did the same thing, man, and I have it right here. I framed my first piece.
Oh.
It's called being an American without a title, and it was a commentary about what it's like to be DACA under the pressure of the Trump administration. And it was a very very intimate piece that I wrote, because I was very blunt about how I was feeling and how many people that were in my situation were feeling. That's one of my personal favorites. But I have to say that the next one to that, or even greater, was following George Floyd. I wrote a commentary called Black liberation is Latinx liberation too. And I did bring a lot of history of what it was for Latinx to be colonized and to have this mindset, and why that carried on to what it was last summer, and why some Latinx people were against BLM, and how all of this essentially ties into the same root of oppression that we're all enduring, and we're doing it in different ways, but it's coming from the same stream. And that was a favorite of mine, just because it blew up on Instagram. I had a lot of influencers on Latinx and Black people, what was it again? The BLM organization here in Richmond. They reposted it as well, and so it got a lot of traction. So I was excited about that.
Oh, wow. Wow, wonderful. Joel?
I have a lot of them that I think I could, reiterate everybody's sentiments about, all the stuff that we work on, and you can't, it's kind of hard. It's like picking between a child, I guess, all the different stories you do.
Sure.
But I would say that my time in the Richmond Post the last 2 years, some of my favorite stories that I've been able to do have to do with shining the light on, communities that haven't necessarily, been, portrayed and given their full respect and their ability, and the ability to share intimate knowledge with. I think that Malcolm had me do a story on the Richard Boyd Fellowship, the Safe Return Project, which I thought was, super impactful, because it's very few and far in between you get the stories talking about people coming back from being incarcerated, and that community is greatly affected by negative media portrayals. So I was, that's probably one of those stories that I really thought that, with the access that we had compared to other places, we were able to give those fellows for that Safe Return Project the ability to share their story and what they've been through and where they're going. Also, I would probably say another one that I thought was a really compelling story that I really enjoyed working on had to do with the distance learning and COVID. And talking to teachers and students this past year, we're experiencing that, and that still is something that's going to be affecting us. I think that we did a good job in that aspect. And COVID is, it's affected a lot of people, but it's especially affected communities of color like Richmond. And it's been one of those things that we've been able to kind of shine the light on. And I've been privileged enough to, be a partake in sharing those stories.
Keisa? I think you're the only one I haven't asked this question of.
I'm glad I'm going last. I think it's really warming my heart to hear everybody's experiences with the paper. For me, I really like reporting, but I really love writing commentary. Like I said earlier, being a part of the team has really helped me reconnect with my community after being away for 5.5 years.
Yeah.
But writing commentary, I actually get to reintroduce myself to the community, because I grew up this weird Black girl that went to school in El Cerrito, wasn't really as part of the community as I wanted to be. And with commentary, I get to talk about politics. I get everything from education to police violence. I get to talk about queerness and being Black and being a parent. And it really feels like home to not just write about myself, but to write about myself to people who know me, who are learning new things about me. And I think that's been the most special part about being on the team.
Well, let me just say, we began this with the perception of Richmond, and that perception is there because if you only cover certain things are only going to get to be known. And your goal of showing all of Richmond, especially the part that isn't covered by the press, it's not only commendable, it's been successful. I mean, even my own introduction to Richmond, really, I mean, fully involved or a lot more involved, came because of a tragic incident, and that's the murder of Terrence Kelly. That's how, if any of you remember that, and that was, I ended up speaking at the funeral, and you know, Khalid Alahi and I, but in my various trips there, I got to see a lot of things that my trips there showed a lot that I'd see. I started to see single fathers walking their kids. I mean, you see all this other stuff that the news obviously doesn't cover, and the press doesn't cover. And I think when you write these, you know, all of Richmond, it does so much for, you know, it just, what can you say? It's like a human being. It's not all of somebody, right? You only cover this one part of somebody, all of somebody. And I to me, you've been eminently successful. And then the fact is that it comes out in 2 languages. It's just, that's not only joining, that's healing, that's affirming. That's like, you know, we all in the same boat together. You know, I mean, I just think that is, does anybody in the United States, anybody else do that?
Yes, Doc. A lot of people do bilingual news, but
I don't know about
it. It just, you know what? We need to do trilingual, and I don't know how you know, 4 and 5. I'm not gonna try to butcher that, but communicating with people and not, you know, hey, newsflash, everyone doesn't speak English in the United States, you know, regardless of what the last president, and you know, some people think they should do. Sometimes it's okay to. We can learn other languages too. We can meet people where they're at too.
Everybody else in the world learns Americans.
We're just trying to communicate, and we, you know, we're so intimacy starved in this country, and you know, I mean, we have so many platforms, but we still don't have the honest conversations and the intimate conversations enough. So I'd like to think that we are a small part of doing that.
From the business standpoint, let me just delve into that for a minute. How was it was print and now it's online? What's that been like for all of you, going from print to online? Have you missed the beat? Do you miss the, you know, just what's that like?
I think everybody misses print. They all tell me they can't wait till we print again. Obviously, COVID has changed everything.
Yeah,
changed everything for everybody, and so we've, you know, right after a few months in, I made a decision to go all online. And it was hard. There's something about the smell of the newspapers in the back of my car that is just, it's just a cool thing. There's something about going in a coffee shop. It's something cool about being offline. Let me say it that way.
Because remember that call.
Everybody, especially in the beginning, you know, oh, we're going to do news. Oh, we got to do a website. We got to do an app, you know, we got to do this. And then actually I went into a couple of Black churches in Richmond and I saw how powerful a church bulletin was. And I was like, wow, they just print this one sheet with all this, all these ladies take it home and it gets all around. And I was like, dang, they ain't beat the church bulletin yet. I don't care how many Facebook, Instagram, what church bulletin. And that was when we said, you know, let's try print and see how it goes. Because at that time, the talk in the industry was print is dead. Yeah. Everything's online. There's no advertising. It's a waste of time. So it was kind of against the grain to do print, but Richmond is small enough. And, you know, maybe it doesn't work in a big city, but 110,000 people here, small, kind of close knit, print still works. But yeah, I miss it. We'll probably go back when the time is right.
You know, in my analogy, and it's, I mean, it works for a lot of people. I can't do the Kindle thing. I need a book in my hand. I really do. You know, people can do that. I need a book. I got books up here, books over here, books over there. I just for me personally, I need the feel of the book in my hand. Now, And it works wonderful for some people, but it just doesn't, doesn't work for me.
I think it was Prince who said, like books and records, Black lives still matter. And books. Yeah. So just having the physical copy, it's different. Like they have it on their wall. They cut it out. I like the fact that the print is whatever. Maybe it's gonna end up being somebody's cat litter at the bottom. I don't care. Do whatever you need to do with it. I like that there's something in the world out there that's not on your phone.
It's also an accessibility thing too, because if, say for example, an undocumented single mother, going to the to el mercado, sees a newspaper in Spanish that she can actually read, she'll never go like online to a news app about Richmond to see the news that she might find there. So at the very end, it might only get to like a couple of people, but those couple of people that it would have never got there in any other way. But that print newspaper that's bilingual, so it's also that importance of it. It's there also.
I think there's also.
I totally agree with that, Dennis. But I do think that. Speaking of cat litter, Malcolm, I was walking out of Catalua a couple months ago, and I saw a guy just using it to like wipe it. I was on that print. I was like, ooh, ooh. Ooh,
you find yourself there.
My work.
Yeah.
But
That's funny.
I think a great thing about the internet though is that because not a lot of people, our age group doesn't go out and get newspapers or open one for that matter. And so online and us putting it on Twitter and then putting it on our stories and then people sharing those things exposes the Richmond polls and allows people to understand that there is a news group, there is a newsroom that exists in Richmond about Richmond.
And
I always feel when I go online, I'm going into the matrix. And I have to extricate myself, so I don't feel like when I have a newspaper in my hand. Go ahead, so.
Oh, quick, Keisa, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I like both. Being online and also with paper. Like the main reason why I love the physical print is just like when I was a kid, every Sunday, my dad and I would sit down and read the newspaper together. And all I wanted was to be in the paper that he was reading. And so being part of the polls, I think he still has my first story. He has like at least 5 copies of that. And every month when they would come out, he would look at it, see my article, and he would pass out copies of the paper. And so, most of us would like share links with our friends here, like pick up a stack of them and just like start delivering them to neighbors. And like that, to me, that's what I love the most. But both online and print, it both works.
I was gonna say, Doc, I was gonna say when we started, also, I think there was people assume that every family is paying $90 for Comcast or $60 a month. Like everybody's online and everybody can afford it all the time. And that's not always true. Having a free newspaper is a lot more accessible. We still have folks who, in Richmond who, they're not paying for, having an extra bill just to have the internet is hard. We got kids in schools that I've met a number of times doing all their homework on their phones, because they don't have internet access all the time. We have people going to the libraries for their internet access. So print just penetrates in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And also the other difference was coming out of youth media, which I did for many years. Youth media was always, you kind of did peer to peer. It was young people writing for other young people. Right. That's what Youth Outlook was. It was like, here's our world for us. When we started Richmond Pulse, we wanted to do something different. It's by young people, but for the entire community. Right. Mm-hmm. So a slight change, and print helped get these young, youthful perspectives into, into the eyes and ears of older folks, which people always stop me. And I'm talking 60, 70 over. They love reading about this new young world, and getting a window into that. They're just tickled by that. Or they're like, man, I was just like me. Or they were like, what are people doing now that, whatever. But so print helps kind of bridge that divide.
And the ability to have both for those who, what they call, what's that old saying, different strokes for different folks, is possible now. And you've been able through, look, a lot of things out of COVID, you had to make, lemonades out of lemons, and to be able to experiment with different things and come out stronger as you move forward with the paper is going to benefit, just continue to benefit the Richmond Post. You have had some folks recently, and I guess you can tell me if it's okay to say this, just some wonderful things have happened to them because of their experience with the Post. Are you at liberty to talk about some of those things? Or
I don't know. Did somebody win $1 million I don't know about? No. Okay, so we scratched that off the list. Yeah, there's a couple people have some things going on, and maybe more that I don't know about. But why don't you start, Joel? Joel?
Yeah, no, I through my work at the Pulse, I've been able to get the experience I need to continue my journalistic endeavors, and I just got a interview this week for Hearst Newspapers Fellowship. Would give me the opportunity to hopefully work for a major newspaper through a 2-year program with them. But I can honestly say I wouldn't have been able to be in the room if it wasn't for my time at the Richmond Post and for the opportunities Malcolm has given me just to be able to cover my community. They mentioned to me that out of 200 people, I was able to make the finalists out of that. And even in and of itself, even if it doesn't work out and where I get the fellowship, just the fact that I've been able to say, my coverage of Richmond and my work as a journalist in this community through the Pulse has been something that's gotten me into the room where I never thought I would be at,
Right.
ever in my life.
Wow.
Brother.
Congratulations, Noel. Congratulations. We got more than one? My Lord, keep going.
Ms. Bernal. Maria?
Yeah, so I'm happy to announce that I was admitted to the UC Berkeley School of Journalism. So I will be starting and my master's program in fall. And similar to Joel, it would have not been possible without Malcolm reaching out to me to write that commentary I shared with you all earlier of my experience of being DACA. As well, last week I hosted my first radio piece at KALW. The story was on the underground, huh?
Keep going, girl.
Getting hyped, that's all.
It was the story was on the Richmond food underground food scene. And I wanted to highlight what the beauty of Richmond and how the people here, instead of being crumbled by the pressure of the pandemic, we went to our kitchens and our cultures to survive. And it's a 10-minute piece. It's online if anybody is interested in listening to it. It's been very, very exciting time. So thank you all for your congratulations and well wishes.
And Maria, correct, and just add something. Not only did you get, again, maybe I'm treading, tell me if I'm incorrect. Not only did you get admitted to UC for your master's in journalism, didn't they give you some
skrill?
Yeah, I got a full ride.
No, wait a minute. That's admittance plus. Lord, really?
Yeah, I got a full ride. Gita, the dean, called me personally on March 3rd at 10:13 a.m. And yeah, I remember, I will never forget. I never thought that I would be admitted to UC Berkeley, much less doing it for journalism. I am first generation college student. I am undocumented. I am a woman. I am a woman of color. And so these are very big strides, and I hope to bring my community with me to uplift the people that exist here, to the people that do not have a voice, to give back to my community, to continue to fight for the equity of Black and Brown people. And I am so happy that they decided to take me, because my personal statement was a bit, you know, I was very blunt that what my intentions of going into this space were. I want to be a revolution in the media, and I don't know, they're taking me on, so I hope they know what they're doing.
You're like, oh, they let me in. Oh, well, that's your fault now.
Look here, girl. They paying you to be you. That's all that you got. They paying you to be you. That's, oh Lord, that is marvelous. Oh my God. Wow.
Hey, I know we're coming to the end. I wonder if folks who want to can just say a little something about Richmond, something they think people don't know, something that they love about the city. Anything, go around.
That's good, because I got one too. So go ahead. Who's first?
Richmond's a beautiful metropolis full of lovely food.
Okay, we do got some good food. I'll give you that.
Joel?
Oh, you know, I would say, you know, reach out to Richmond. You know, don't just drive past on the 80 and, you know, look down at us. You know, we are a community of a lot of different things and a lot of good things, and I think that the stories here are ones that people should you know, understand a little bit more, seek out.
Dennis?
Walk your dog around the city. You will find a lot of cool spots. Go hike around the city. You'll find cool spots, and just walk and just explore it. And man, you're gonna find good things.
Juan?
I'd say first, Richmond is my home. I've been raised here my whole life, and I wouldn't think of any other place that I'd want to be raised in, because it's just built me to be who I am now. And I say Richmond just has like a beautiful community of people who are like hardworking, and they know what needs to be done at the end of the day to see a good tomorrow. So I'd say Richmond is home.
Maria?
I would say that Richmond is the playground for dreamers, for hustlers, and future seekers.
Oh, I like that. Keisa?
I would answer by Google search is Richmond ghetto, and I would say yes, and there's nothing wrong with that, and the ghetto has something to say.
All
It's a
right.
beautiful place.
All right now. Danielle?
Yeah, I've been thinking about what I want to say to this, because, you know, this whole time while I've been working at the Pulse, I've always felt like, because Richmond isn't my city, I want to listen and let the team and the people in the community that we talk to tell me what the city is, and not to impose my own outsider's perspective on it. But I think that what everyone has said so far is spot on. And just like several of us have said before, there's so much more to the city than what you might hear about. And those negatives, they are out there for a reason, but they're just one small piece of a much bigger picture.
Liz?
I would say Richmond is so strong and full of people who are working to transform the city. And I would also add that Richmond has a community land trust called Richmond Land that folks should learn more about, to house folks affordably for a very long time, to keep folks in Richmond.
Ronvel?
I would wait, same question, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Like, how would I describe Richmond?
Or just something you love about Richmond, or something you think people don't know about it.
Want people to know about it, yeah.
Well,
But I think you already said the food.
yeah,
Right.
the food is
Oh,
like the
it is
food is
there.
like bomb.
Wasn't sure.
But I would say that Richmond, if anything, is highly misunderstood by outsiders, mainly because of like the actions of a few. I would say that if you're outside of Richmond and you're like thinking of like coming over, definitely don't let the bad stigma, like don't let that dissuade you from coming over, because the actions of a few should not like stereotype the actions of like everyone else. Everyone else is their own person, and stereotypes is not the way to go.
So two of my favorite spots are in Richmond, and I go there. I will drive from San Francisco just to go to these spots. Snapper Seafood. I'm there. I get my fried oysters right there. All of my chicken wings, and then once I do that, I go straight. My other place I go is Naturally Herbs and More. My herb shop. To get my body back in shape, eating all that food. Two of my favorite spots. And he said, they always say, you come from San Francisco over here? I said, yeah, I come over here. You know how when you move in your churches in the city, you're gonna go back to that church no matter where it is. That's the way I feel about these places. I'm gonna get up and go. But that's just two of many amazing places in Richmond. And again, I wouldn't have known if I had started going over there and finding all these things out that you've been talking about. So Soul will give you the last word. You have created.
No, before you give Soul the last word.
Well, you were going to, he was the last word before I come to you, but go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, no, Soul, you can have the last word, but before you do, I'd like to say what a gift and a blessing it has been for me to hear you talk about your experience in your journey. What a gift and a blessing to work in an environment with somebody who values you, who takes your gift and allows you to develop that gift and let it grow into something all that you can make it be. And you work together, your voices are heard. You don't have to hesitate or be afraid. You can allow yourselves to be all that you can be while you are developing your gift. What a gift and a blessing to use your voice and to see that written in print, knowing that other people are seeing it and internalizing it too. I've read the articles and they are amazing to be able to use your voice. So I just celebrate each of you and congratulate each of you. And Malcolm, I've got to say, baby, not only do you look good tonight, from what I'm hearing, you do amazing work, because it's not just about you, it's about the team. And they are a reflection of what you've done and what you do. And the fact that she's got a full ride, you've got people who never would have tried had they not been touched by you, where you give them the opportunity to let their light shine. Oh my goodness sakes. And because you've got that opportunity, you let your light shine fearlessly, amazingly. And I just say, keep it up.
Right on, Lady E.
Keep it up.
I'd like to think I'm good at spotting amazing human beings, even when they might not fully see it. And so I try to pick good folks in their skills, but also in their heart. That means something to me. And then I pass on what you and Doc have given to us. And I encourage, all of you to pay this forward when you get in the position, and you can give it to someone else so that we keep it going, because this whole spirit somebody gave to me, and I'm just giving it to you with the expectation that you will pass it on and give it to someone else. And I know you will, because when you're touched by the spirit, you can't help but share it with another person.
That's right.
You
and you can't see what you ain't got.
So I guess I will have the last word. So let me just say to you, to you, Malcolm, I remember the day when you came and started talking about this, and I don't know. I mean, I remember you talking about Kevin. I don't know, and so on and so forth. And then just plunging in, you know, the highs, the lows, some of which they don't know about because they wouldn't necessarily know about. It's like young people I work with Live Free don't know, you know. But seeing you just guided on this continuous, like the stock market, just except it ain't coming down, just moving forward and producing all these wonderful opportunities for the staff and the young people. You know, being able to partner with you in this, and certainly as your father, I'm gonna say I knew it all along. I knew it all along. I knew it all along. But it's one thing to know it all along. It's another thing to actually see it happen and continue to happen. You just done an amazing job. And you know, one time you said John Johnson is your role model. Well, okay, that's a for-profit. And John Johnson, you don't know, was a longtime editor of Ebony and Jet. But you being able to pull this model off so successfully is a tribute to your leadership. And you know, we've seen in this country what bad leadership can do. But you know, is a testament to you being able to pull all this together and to keep moving forward. And
Can I say that seeing Maria smile when she was talking about getting into Berkeley, or seeing Juan
that makes that
smile. I'm telling you, if you can't get up in the morning and go to work for that, then I mean, you might as well get out of it. Just seeing that is what will keep me. And I tell people, I talked to Dante Clark about that. You're the one that showed me this. You know, I think people are always looking for big changes, big things to happen. Of course, we want the big things to happen, but along the way, it's those sweet little victories. You know, it's one person getting an opportunity. It's you used to talk about when you were a teacher, the light bulb going off over a kid's head and they would get it. That's a victory. That feels good.
Yeah.
You know, so seeing them is like, oh, okay, man, let's do this again and again and again.
And again and again and again. It never gets old. So congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to the Richmond Pulse. This has been just marvelous. You know, marvelous. And there's many more marvelouses to come. They holding up the print, you know, because we can't hold up the online, so we're gonna hold up the print. And thank you for all of us for joining us tonight, sharing all this, and you know, let's get the next edition out.
Thank you to the Queen, Liz Gonzalez.
Thank you to Ann too. Ann's on the team.
And B has been on there from day one as well. That's right.
Keep moving forward. And thank you tonight. And let's get up and get them in the morning. Okay. All right.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate y'all coming on.
Yep. Okay. Good night, all of you.
Good night.
Thanks, Keisa.
Night.